Welcome back to the next deck in my budget deck series. This is my Kangee Birds of War Area Keeper deck. I do have a foil one coming in, and I'm probably going to send this one to John Suarez to get signed from Star City Games Commander Versus. I love his Birds of War deck. Kangee is generally the win condition. It is a 4-cost 2/2 legendary bird soldier with kicker 2x, and it has flying, and when you pay the kicker cost, you put X counters, feather counters on it, and the rest of your birds get pumped for each feather counter on him. So in one of the old Commander Versus videos, I saw John Suarez pay 9, so 4 and then the 2 and then 3 for X and put 3 feather counters on and pump all of his birds by 3. It's kind of like the white-blue overrun for the birds, and swing in and win with his birds. So Kangee is definitely a good win condition. And the next disclaimer, I had a lot of these cards in my foil binders from either playing the Onslaught Invasion blocks, Odyssey, all of those sets, or from foil lots that I've bought a long time ago. There are 2 cards in here that I don't have, and this is also a budget deck. You could probably buy it for $15 if you don't buy foils. If you buy foils, it'll be a bit more expensive. I also have tokens that we'll get into. But I think that this deck can be relatively cheap if you don't buy foils. However, I had a lot of them, and it's not super competitive. I put a lot of cards in here just because they are pretty foils. That does not necessarily mean that they're bad, but they're not great. Like, here's a tapped dual land. There are 6 of them that I put in here. Tranquil Cove, tapped dual, Sagira Refuge, dual, Azorius Guildgate, dual, Chancery, dual, and Seaside Haven, dual. Then I have 15 planes. I had to get the Mirage lands because I like the old border, and this one has a bird in it. Like, how can you not get 15 bird planes? And then I've got 14 islands. I decided to stay in set with the Mirage, so I got a very pretty island by Douglas Schuler. 14 islands in the nice matte dragon shield black sleeves. They're beautiful. But that's my land base, so 35 lands, and it is a heavy tribal deck. So there are some artifacts. I have some ramp. I have 9 artifacts. In Mindstone, Worn Power Stone, Azorius Signet, Azorius Key Rune, because it turns into a bird that can be pumped late game. You pay 2, and it becomes a bird, a 2/2 bird, and that can be pumped by Kangee late game. So that's another one people aren't expecting. A Catcher's Monument, just kind of because my creatures are white heavy. There's like 2 or 3 more white birds than there are blue, and Kangee's white, so it kind of reduces his cost as well, and it allows me to create some blocking fodder, some warrior tokens, but it's just kind of like as a mana reducer, a budget mana reducer. Bite into Thassa. When my birds deal damage, I can draw a card. This pumps my birds. The Obelisk, I can tap them, choose bird, and they all get +2/+2. Grafted Exoskeleton onto a Kangee or something else big for a win. And Blackblade Reforged, just again. I feel like this should go in every commander deck. I don't know. When it first came out from Dominaria, I bought 13 of them at like 30 cents a piece because I wanted to put one in every deck. And I have slowly put them in every one of my old decks. I have 20 commander decks now. So some don't have them if they're not a Voltron build or if they don't really want it, but this is just a stupidly powerful card. Put my mana rocks back here. Now I have 30 creatures, I believe? Yeah. Not all of them are foil, which is sad, but I do have a lot of old foils. Thanks for bearing with me. Oh, look how good they look. Major Tarot is a bird legend. Now, I don't know what all these cards do, but I had a lot of these foils, so I was just like, I'm tossing them in. He's just a 2/3 flyer. A lot of them are expensive. This is your bird anthem legend bird. Phantom Flock with counters. I can sacrifice him to do something. I can do something with him, but they all fly and they all have power and toughness, which is nice. Flying Pro Dragon, I think that's kind of sweet. Amplify, which gives it, I can play him and reveal birds from my hand, and it gives him +1/+1 counters. And flying is secondary underneath Amplify. I don't know. It's like flying is not as important. Flying on my Celestial Gatekeeper. Gust Cloak Carrier Bird Soldier. When it becomes blocked, I can untap it and remove from combat, so it doesn't actually be dealt damage. Mystic Familiars, my 2-drop 1/2 bird. Then into my foil blues, old school blues, I should say. Now they do look good. I don't know, for some reason I just can't seem to get it on my video. All right. Could be my camera placement as well. But it's flying 1/2. I can tap him to draw. I can tap 2 birds with Crookclaw Elder to draw cards. Hydromorph Goal. I can sacrifice its utility to counter a spell that attacks my creatures. Or white spells cost 1 less with this time shifted familiar. Pro Green Bird. Sage Haven. I can essentially like impulse the top 4 of my top 4 cards of my library. Shoreline Ranger, Flyer, Pro Red Flyer, impulse the top 4 again, Pro Green Flyer, and then I'm getting into my multicolored and other foils. Even Mimeomancer comes in with additional bird. With feather counters, I can put more feather counters on Kangee or something else to give it base 3/+1 if I want. So, you know, years later, they came out with more feather counters. That was a mistake. Ishai Ojitai, it's really poor foiling from the Commander Anthology deck. But, you know, he just gets bigger when people play spells. All of my creatures, because they have flying, they cost 1 less to cast because of this Warden of Evos Isles. Has to be a staple for your Birds of War deck. Ca-caw! Shriek Raptor, Infect. It wouldn't be one of my decks without an Infect card, but it's a flying Infector. Non-foils, these were like $5 a piece. I actually had to buy these 2 cards. I had to buy these 2 because I didn't have them for my deck. And there are only a very few cards that I had to buy for the deck. I had to buy Windburst Raptor, but I'll get to that. Pro Creature, Commander Isha. Fantastic. Lieutenant Kirtar, flying. I can sacrifice him to remove an attacking creature. If I'm going to lose, I can pay 2 and sack him to remove that creature from the game, to exile something. Archetype, all of my creatures have flying. None of my opponent's creatures will have flying. Kind of sweet. Emeria Angel is a flying landfall that creates bird tokens. Ca-caw, Stormcrow. They're not 1/1s. They're 1/2 tokens, but I love them. You just have to. And then Windburst Raptor just gives my attacking birds lifelink. And it's a 5/7. So that's a big body on a 7-drop flyer. It's a big body. Then I've got instants and sorceries. I've got 12 instants. Let me sort them out. Okay. Now, again, all of these are not great, and they're not commander staples, but a lot of my birds are soldiers, so a 1-cost instant to give something vigilance, or to give my creatures vigilance, or give one of my single bird soldiers +2/+2 is pretty sweet for Piety Charm. Demystify is destroy target enchantment, 1-cost enchantment destroy. This has a bird on it. It's called Astral Steel. Now let's see if I can focus. Astral Steel gives target creature +1/+2 and storm. So I don't think I'm ever going to storm off, but hey, it's beautiful foil. Reward the Faithful. I can gain life based on highest converted mana cost, probably Windburst Raptor. Wipe Clean. I can exile an enchantment or cycle it if I need to. I've got like 6 of those. Recuperate. I've got 3 of those. I can gain 6 life or prevent damage, burn done to a creature of mine. Blue instance, Trickery Charm. I can change something to a different type, or I can impulse the top 4, look at the top 4 and put them back in any order I choose. It's not scry, so it's a little weaker than scry, but still beautiful for 1-drop. Here's a counterspell, Dispersal Shield. Envelop, counter target sorcery. Somebody wants to overrun or something, or Triumph of the Hordes and kill me for the win. They're going to have to get through Envelop. Nobody expects the 1-drop counter sorcery. There's no, like, pay a cost, it's just counter. Spy Network is sweet. I love this card. I don't know. I mean, I've got a bunch of them in foil. I don't know why people don't play more often. It's a 1-drop instant, and I can look at their hand. I can look at the top card of their library to see what they're going to draw. Any face-down morph creatures or any face-down creatures, then I can look at the top card of my library, the top 4, and put them back. So it's just kind of like I get to see what's going on. Metal, so if something is going to target one of my creatures, I can change that to another creature, and it doesn't have to be another one of my creatures, just any creature. So 2-drop redirect, pretty sweet. And I've got 4 of these Mark Poole Rockstar birds. I have to put it in to give something, you know, essentially indestructible, just reduce all the damage dealt to it. Then I've got some sorceries. I've got 7, 8 maybe. Yeah, one of them's not. I don't have one of the cards. One of the cards is in the mail with my foil Kangee, and it's a card draw spell we'll get into. I had a foil Airborne Aid. I think it's one of the more expensive cards in the deck. Draw a card for each bird in play. So if I have a bunch of tokens, that works out wonderfully. Rush of Knowledge. Draw cards based on a high converted mana cost. Reminisce. If someone's trying to mill me, or if I need something back, I can shuffle it back in, or shuffle my birds back in. Collective Effort. Not a bird card, but I can start tapping my birds or my tokens or anything to destroy enchantments, or start destroying some creatures, or just pumping my board if I have to. It's kind of nice. I like it. Migratory Route. 5 cost, create 4 birds. There are times when this creates 8, and we'll get to that. Battle Screech I don't have in foil. It's an expensive card. Put 2 bird tokens into play. Tap it. Tap 3 to flash it back and put 2 more. Now, there are times when this creates 8 tokens as well. Just a melody, I choose bird, and I draw cards based on the number of birds I have. Simple, easy. This blank sleeve is for Trade Secrets, which is a blue. I believe it's 1 generic blue, pay, and... No. Target opponent draws 2, then I draw 4. Then we repeat that process as many times as they want. So it's a card draw spell. Then the last bit of cards I have are some enchantments. I have Ares, Soulcatcher's Airy, which is a foil judgment card. When a bird is put into a graveyard, I can put a feather counter on it, kind of like Kangee, and all birds get +1/+1 for each feather counter. So kind of nice. Shared Triumph, no, I don't have in foil. I can choose bird, and they all get +1/+1, whether they're white or blue, doesn't matter. Favorable Winds gives my flyers +1/+1. Gravitational Shift gives my birds +2/+0 and reduces the attack of the damage of non-flying creatures. Anointed Procession just allows me to double my bird tokens. This can easily be replaced by something, but I like the idea of being able to toss out a bunch of bird tokens and then casting Kangee, and all of my bird tokens get buffed. So pretty sweet, even though it's a little niche, even though I only have 2 create bird token cards. I think with the Monument as well, I can start creating double the soldier tokens or warrior tokens. Parallel Thoughts is my last enchantment. I think Parallel Thoughts is pretty great because it removes 7 lands from the game. I'd probably choose 4 plains, 3 islands, and then no matter what happens, if I need a land, I can choose to take from that pile, or I just draw a card like normal. But it kind of gives me better chances to draw better cards. If this gets exiled, all those face-down lands stay exiled. It is what it is. That's not the end of the world for this deck. As far as my tokens go, I hit the camera again. I tend to do that. I like having Stormcrow tokens. I think they're beautiful foils. They're funny. Birds of War. They're 1/2 flyers, but hey. And then I've even got the Warriors. And I've only got one because I'll just put a dice on it and be like, hey, I chump block, start taking the numbers off the dice. It's fine that way. But I really like this deck. I think it has a lot going for it, especially when it comes to the foil birds. I think that, you know, when you lay them out, everything looks wonderful, you know. It's just, they get better the more that you look at them. Again, their budget, I had a lot of them. It's not like I spend a lot of money on cards. The cards that I actually don't have are the ones that I spent money on. I also bought the Stormcrow tokens. So I had to buy those because I only had 2. But at the end of the day, it is a foiled out Birds of War deck with the WinCon actually being the commander to pump all of these beautiful, beautiful cards. So I think the deck works well. I haven't actually tested it in multiplayer, but you know, a lot of the old school foil cards, they're fantastic. I like playing. So thanks for watching this budget deck tech. I hope I didn't make you sick at the end by looking at the foil cards. I'm sorry if that made you sick. I apologize. Thanks for watching. Feel free to comment for improvements, ideas for the next deck. Anything you want, just let me know. Thanks for watching.